Welcome back to Let's Make a Game. In this video I'm going to continue talking about making an inventory system for your game and specifically about shops. In the last video we set up a simple shop system, and at the end of the video I mentioned a couple of obvious problems with what we've done. One of them was that there was only one of every item for sale. So if you bought the shield, there was no more shields in the shop. If you bought the dagger, there was no more daggers in the shop. And that didn't seem to make a lot of sense. So I've changed it so that now items replenish. So let me show you an example. We have this dagger, which we're able to buy. And if I click on it, we now have less gold. We have only 30 gold where we had 60. We have the dagger up here, but the shop isn't out of daggers. They have another one for sale. Should we lose this one in some way in the game, perhaps we have rules for weapons breaking or something like that and need another one, we can come back and buy another one. So let me show you the code. We need one new variable called original_items, and we also need to add another slot to an existing array, the items array. So original_items is set to items.length -1. At the moment that would be 7, but if I add or remove items, this will still be the right number, which is why I didn't put it as set original_items equals 7. Because then I would have to change it if I change the number of items. We also add a new slot to items. Slot something for is only for bought items. It is which icon to use. So let me explain what happens. When you buy an item, instead of changing the location of the item from being for sale in a given area to 0, meaning that it's in the character's backpack, in the character's possession, we instead create a new item identical to the old one, except that it has a location of 0, meaning that it is in the character's possession. And that means that the item in the shop is still there for sale. But this creates a problem, which is we only have a certain number of pictures. And when we're displaying pictures, we do that by referring to art/icon and then a variable .png. Well, we don't have an icon 8, so if we create a new item and put it in slot 8 or 9 or 10, we don't have an icon for that item. So what we need to do is keep track of which existing icon to use instead, and we put that in slot 4. And that is why we need this original_items variable, because we can say, if the number of the item is equal to this value or less, then just use icon the number of the item. If it's greater than this number, look in slot 4 and use the icon with that number. So I've put a lot of the code in a separate passage called by item. That wasn't necessary because it's only referred to once, and normally we put code in its own passage when it's referred to more than once. But it was just tidier and easier to follow. That's why I did it that way. So let's look at the changes that we made. First of all, let's look in items for sale. If an item is indeed for sale, then we set up the image, and clicking the item sends the game to this new passage, by item, and we set the variable x to the current value of the item that we're dealing with. That X is going to be used in the buy item passage. So we reduce the player's gold by items X3, which is the price of item X. We set Y equals items.length, meaning one slot higher than is currently being used. So if we have 7 items, Y will have a value of 8. And then we create a new item in slot 8. So items 8 equals an array, items 8.0 equals items x0, items 8.1 equals items x1. So Y is the new slot, and X is the item that we're buying, the item that we're copying. Items Y2 is the location, and that's always set to 0. And items Y4, which is the special one for displaying the item, is set to $X. So we know that for this item, we always use icon number X. And then we include details, meaning we go back to this main page. The other thing we need to do is when we're displaying this icon, so that takes place in inventory and also loose items, we have to use the right icon. So we have a little if here. So we set up img art/icon. And what number is it going to be? Well, if y is greater than original underscore items, then we look in slot 4. And if not, if it's one of the original items in the game, we just use the number y. And that code is copied just about exactly in the code for loose items, except that the variable isn't x, it's w instead. And that is solving one of the problems that I talked about with the shop system that we have. I haven't solved the other problem that I mentioned, which is that you can't sell any items to the shops. But that is something I will be doing in a future video. So I will leave it there for now. I hope that was useful or interesting to at least some of you, and I hope you will tune in next time.